What up, though? It's your boy Ron T, the Icon, and it's this week's iconic moment of the week. And this one is very, very iconic. See, on October 11th, 1988, Ted Turner started this company called WCW, World Championship Wrestling. And by the early 90s, they were the biggest competition to WWF. And in 1995, Ted Turner handed the reins over to one Eric Bischoff to start a show to go directly against Monday Night Raw. And that one was called Monday Night Nitro. And for 2 years, they gave WWE the business. It was edgy, it was new, it was fresh, and it was unpredictable. But 2 years later was the birth of the Attitude Era and started the Monday Night War. Now this war went on for 2 years strong, but by 99, it started to go the WWF's way. Because for an additional 2 years, WCW tried too hard to emulate what WWF was doing. They tried to be too edgy and then one up the Attitude Era, and it started to lose viewers. People did not recognize WCW anymore because it felt unauthentic. And as they began to lose viewers, they began to lose business and talent. And this is the start of our iconic moment. The date was March 26, 2001. It was a Monday night, and WCW logo showed up on the screen, and the very next thing we saw was an unfamiliar face to WCW TV. It was Vince McMahon. I even thought that I had the wrong channel on. It said Raw is War, and I said, wait a minute, I thought I had on TNT. And I looked, and it was TNT. And then Vince McMahon said he had officially won the Monday Night Wars, and he now owns WCW. And they will have to watch later on as he does a simulcast during the final episode of Nitro to give the fate of WCW. So everyone had to wait until he came out to the ring later on in the show on a time that his choosing to address the WCW crowd and staff. So Nitro continued on as normal, except with a touch of doom and gloom, because nobody knew the fate of WCW by the time that Vince McMahon came out to address the crowd. Now the first match was Booker T, where he defeated Big Papa Pump to unify the US and World Heavyweight title. It was the Night of Champions, and all of the titles were going to be defended. And then Rey Mysterio and Billy Kidman won the Cruiserweight Tag titles. And then the final match of the night, the curtain call, was Ric Flair versus Sting. Ric Flair called out Sting, and after an emotional speech about his history of WCW and with Sting, and said it would be an honor for our curtain call for our final Monday Night Nitro to face you, and Sting agreed. So as the main event ends, Sting is victorious, and he helps up Ric Flair. And they shake hands, and they hug, and the crowd cheers, and they wave to the crowd, and the commentating team, they're emotional. You can see people are clearly emotional in the crowd, and then the feed is abruptly interrupted, and it's Vince McMahon walking up the ramp, telling Lillian Garcia to properly introduce him. So she introduces the chairman of the World Wrestling Federation, Vince McMahon, and he struts to the ring, and he's bragging, and he's very arrogant, and he's talking about how he finally won and what's going to be the fate. Maybe he puts him up on the shelf, maybe he brings people in. And then he started asking to the crowd, who do you want to see? You want to see this person, that person? And then he said, you know what, I'm putting him on the shelf, and I'm not signing anything because I want Ted McMahon to come this Sunday to WrestleMania and bring it down and beg me to sign it because nobody else will buy WCW. Now that Sunday at WrestleMania, Vince McMahon was set to face Shane McMahon, his son, in a street fight. And he stands up there and he brags about, I'm going to do to Shane what I do to all of my competition. I'm going to win. And Vince McMahon is going to bury Shane the way I'm burying WCW. And as he's going on, Shane's music hits. No chance. And showing his face on the Titantron. And he's waiting. He's waiting for Shane to come to the ring. And Shane does not come to the ring. They show him in Panama City, Florida, where Nitro is walking into the WCW ring. So Shane McMahon's in the ring and he addresses the camera. He said, see, Vince, your arrogance and your pride and your ego has bit you again, and you wanted Ted to come down and bring you the contract at WrestleMania, but that left the perfect opening for me. See, the deal to WCW is done, and the name on that contract and that selling papers does say McMahon, but it says Shane McMahon, and I am the new owner of WCW. And Vince McMahon is looking absolutely stunned in the ring. And he says, just like WCW has kicked WWF's butt years before, it's going to happen again, and I'm going to do the same to you at WrestleMania. And he turns to the crowd, and the crowd is cheering, and then Nitro goes off air with Vince McMahon looking dumbfounded. Now, I remember throughout this entire episode, I was confused and intrigued, and I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. My brother had on Raw in his room. I had Nitro on in mine, and we were running back and forth to see what happened. They kept showing Vince McMahon throughout Nitro, just celebrating, and he was just ecstatic about what he accomplished or was about to accomplish. And this whole thing was crazy. And it was the start of something called the Invasion, where you started to see WCW wrestlers show up unannounced on WWF television. And I will get on to that next week for the next iconic moment. But until next time, it's your boy Ryan T. the Icon. Peace.